What up, people? Oh my God. Welcome back to I Think Sports Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I missed this so much. As always, my name is Double-D. I'm the host of this shindig. And yeah, sorry guys. It's been a while. It's been a goddamn minute. And really due to technical difficulties, myself and Buddy Al, we actually were supposed to have a podcast on free agency. And literally like 30 minutes before we started recording, my computer just died. Absolutely died. Well, I guess it was time. So I cannot really complain. I mean, I did have that laptop for almost 10 years, but it just froze on me. We couldn't recover it. It's still out there in my junk bag and on to-do list to fix this goddamn thing. But sorry guys, that is the reason why we did not have a podcast. Then we went on a little vacation, and now here we are back. Here we back again. It's only going to be me, and it's going to be an MMA show. Forget about the free agency. I mean, I know a lot of stuff has happened. Jesus Christ, how much things have happened. The worst time ever to take a break, really. You know, and you might say this is stupid as hell from my end, and I wouldn't disagree. But, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm just happy to be back, and, I'm happy to talk about fucking UFC, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible weekend has just passed on the UFC's end. International Fight Week, obviously. That's always a huge one. I would say probably the biggest. I mean, UFC used to have like these banging not New Year's events. They used to have, crazy Super Bowl events. But to me, International Fight Week always felt like the biggest deal in the world. And yeah, this one, god damn it, delivered on all the scales. This was a heck of a fight card. Really just one of the most one of the better ones that we have seen, and just, with knockouts left and right, really something to watch. So, yeah, again, because of the technical stuff, I couldn't even preview this card and actually talk about Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou. Yeah, man, we didn't even touch on that. But, I'm happy that I'm back right now, and we can actually discuss this thing with you, at least in terms of UFC 239. So let's do that. Let's just dig right into it, right? Let me start a bit weirdly. Let me start in a different manner, just a little bit. Let me start with a highlight of the weekend. Absolutely, to me personally, the highlight of the weekend has to be Jorge Masvidal knocking out Ben Askren in 5 seconds. I mean, again, I'm sure you've heard this before, and I definitely agree that this should have been a 3-second knockout, but it took some time for what's the ref's name? Herzog. For Ref Herzog, I don't remember his first name, but for him to step in, it just took him a little while. I mean, who can expect, that the shit's gonna go down in 5 seconds? So yeah, I guess the ref didn't expect that, and before Askren hit the ground and could be saved by the ref, he actually got beat up even more by Jorge. Jorge Masvidal, to me, has been the star of stars in this weekend. I gotta say, man, this guy is really coming to his own. Really coming to his own. I'm becoming a huge super fan. Even after Darren Till fight, I became kind of I started, take notice to what he says, how smart and funny he is. I finally start taking notice to Masvidal's game, because I've always heard a lot of hype about him. The most notably, Brendan Schaub was the guy who said that I don't think that this guy can ever lose. He's got so much talent. He's good at everything. To me, it was always he's a perfect depiction of jack of all trades terminology. When people say that you're really a master of nothing, You're just good at all these things, all these disciplines. And Masvidal really felt that way because I don't know. I really didn't know what can he do to you. I always watched him as being okay, hard to take down, okay, holding his own in submission game, okay, apparently a good boxer, and he's got the kicking game, so he's mixing stuff up. But yeah, that was it. Nothing really lethal, nothing really with any character. And he goes on a little bit of a win streak. Then he gets some stupid loss. Then he goes on the win streak again, but a ton of decisions. And his losses were a lot of split decision stuff. It was looking weird for this guy. I really didn't know that he has his place anywhere in this in this world. And then all of a sudden, ever since he moved up to the welterweight, well, I shouldn't say that actually, because he did fight in the welterweight for some time. But, you can start to see like this guy is finally coming to his own. Yeah, so even when he fought Lawrence Larkin, I think that was his first move to the welterweight division. He fought Lawrence Larkin, which I'm a huge fan of. And Lawrence is no joke. That dude is big, powerful, explosive. In the striking department, he's as lethal as they can be. So he lost a split decision to him, and there was actually a good argument that, when a split decision goes, it can go either way, right? And we're going to talk about the main event of UFC 239 as well, whether that should have been a split decision. But anyway, ever since that fight, you can see like, okay, so he lost his fight moving up to the welterweight. This is his second loss in a row before he lost another split decision to Benson Henderson. So who the hell knows? This is maybe not his spot here exactly. And shit, before he beat Cesar Ferreira, so maybe that was his move to the welterweight. Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I mixed this shit up. I don't even remember this. That's the thing, ever since Ally Quinta fight, I forgot about Masvidal. I know there was this hype, people talk about his talents. Brendan Schaub, most notably, said many times how talented the guy is. He's good everywhere. I don't see how he can lose. He's just so talented. I've never seen it. We never seen it materialize in front of our eyes. And moving to the welterweight even was shady because he goes out there and knocks out Cesar Ferreira, which is this guy. I mean, maybe he couldn't be a light heavyweight, but he's a big middleweight, that's for sure. And, he knocked him out at the welterweight division. But then he fights Benson, loses split decision, another split decision to Lorenz, then fights Ross Pearson, but only, squeaks out a decision against that guy. Then finally knocks out Jake Ellenberger, and to me, he really came on the scene against Donald Cerrone. That was finally one of his performance of the nights, which has been, it's been a while since we've seen something like that from Masvidal. And Cerrone was on a hot winning streak. Cerrone was just moved to the welterweight class himself, and he's, knocking dudes out. Knocked out Matt Brown, knocked out this other guy. Man, what's his name? The horror story. Rick Story. Knocked him out. Just Cerrone looked like, from a video game. The combinations that he was putting in everything, it was looking, upper class, a premier striking exchange and premier striking exhibition, from Cerrone. So now he's fighting Masvidal, and Masvidal knocks him out, baby. Puts him in trouble in the first round, as far as I can remember, and then puts the cherry on the top in the second round pretty quick. Then he fights Maia, loses again a split decision, but Maia was on his back for like a half of that fight and couldn't submit him. I mean, finally you can see, wow, Masvidal really he's got some colors. And the guy just doesn't give a shit. He takes this fight, he takes that fight. He doesn't stop. He fights like 3 times a year, no problem. Actually, I'll tell you, he fought 3 times in 2013, 3 times in 2014, 3 times in 15, in 16, in 17. And then he hasn't fought in 2018 after Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's fight. So again, before he lost to Maia, now he loses to Thompson. And then he goes against Darren Till. Brings that challenge on square ahead and no problem. Knocks him out. Again, in the second round, that was just vicious. And after that, the way he handled himself against Leon Edwards, the way he talked about him and Leon, goes to Joe Rogan experience. Now he grew his hair long. He changed. He changed something. He has extra swagger right now, and that confidence, that supreme confidence, like Kobe Bryant 81-point game confidence. Where it's just about him and nobody else. Whoever's in front of him, he's running through him with pure fire. This is where this guy is right now. And the way he handled himself, the way he talked about Ben Askren, and the way he entered into this fight, and the way he ended this fight so quickly, the record-breaking knockout. Before that, it was Dwayne Ludwig, which again, he knocked his opponent out in 8 seconds. I think there is an argument that this could have been 6 seconds. Or 5 seconds. So, again, neither here nor there. It was all about Jorge Masvidal just coming onto scene and just sparkling. Shiny, shiny star this guy has become now. Just perfect, And the way he talked about everything at the post-conference, this guy is witty, he's fun, he's smart. He's everything. He's a full package. And look at him, the way he delivers. And first of all, he's all about that fight. He's all about that life. That guy is ruthless. And he doesn't give a shit. You can't be his friend. He's out there to kill you. And if he hates you till the end. All that showboating and stuff, people say like that was unnecessary. I don't know. I think it was necessary because it was true, where you stand with somebody like Jorge Masvidal. It's pretty much like with the Diaz brothers. Where you stand with those people. And when they say like they hate you and they spit in your face, it's not going to be all goody-goody after the fight. They will give you your respects and all that. But, Masvidal really didn't like Askren, so he's not going to give any respect because, he just doesn't respect the guy. I found that just really perfect. Sometimes that showboating stuff gets, under everybody's nerves. Sometimes it is unnecessary. Sometimes it's just sour grapes. But I think in this case, it was very necessary. I got to agree with Jorge the way he said. It was very necessary. So I think it was just perfect. I think it's going to take this guy to the stardom, and you have to give him a title shot. Now the question is, Colby Covington is really talking loud about his stuff, and, he's got to fight against Robbie Lawler, which is, ooh, baby. How do you deny a winner of that fight? Especially a convincing winner. It would be hard to deny. But I think that's what they have to do. They have to perform convincingly in order to jump over Jorge. Jorge is the guy right now. You got to give it to him. Again, just use that swagger, use that confidence, to the guys, to his rising. We've never seen him. He fought for so long. We've never seen him fight for the championship. I mean, come on. It ain't that hard to do. I would like to see this guy fight for the title against Kamaru Usman. I have no idea how he would win that fight, but if he wants to strike, he can fuck Usman up. I mean, of course he wants to strike, but if he can keep it standing, And again, now we've seen, he can knock out somebody like Darren Till out, no problem. And, he can hold his own against somebody like Damian Maia on his back. Those are, and even against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he held his own. It was just, Thompson was too big. That reach was too long for Masvidal to work with. And, when you're fighting somebody as talented as Thompson in the striking department, well, you're going to run into some problems. So, Masvidal is amazing. I got to say, he's an amazing fighter, and now we can finally see it. And the way he just handles himself, the way he speaks his game, the way he just shits on his opponents, and rightfully so, I must say. Yeah, I will say this again. This guy is a star in the making, and I'm absolutely in love of this fighter. This was something, something, something to watch. Oh my God. Beautiful. Beautiful. Highlight of the week, this guy, Jorge Masvidal. Keep an eye on him. So, yeah, title shot for him, I would assume. If not, well, some other title eliminator fight. Good things ahead of Masvidal. For Ben Askren, man, I don't know. Comes to the UFC, out of retirement against Robbie Lawler. That was, very controversial decision. Till this day, people don't know, what's natural, what's not natural. Whether Robbie tapped, whether he didn't. I mean, of course he didn't, but was he asleep? Was he not? Very unnatural, very controversial. And Askren not willing to run it back really doesn't add much to it, especially knowing how much in deep trouble he was at the beginning of that fight against Lawler. So, whatever. You want to forget about that, but then he goes out against Masvidal, and Masvidal just, puts a stamp on him. My God, he knocked him out with a beautiful switch knee in like 2 seconds, and then followed up with a few vicious. I mean, some, I guess you can call them hooks. They were kind of straight but hooking. Masvidal kept his hand pretty much straight and just hooked it and dropped it on Askren's face for a few times. Man, those were solid punches. I mean, Askren was taken straight to the hospital. He was in all sorts of wonderlands out there, and it was hard. It was hard to see. To see those follow up punches. It's always hard. And that's the one thing I don't condone fighters to do. It's always cringeworthy to see, somebody just being fucked up. But, we've seen it. Dan Henderson, he didn't like Michael Bisping one bit. And once he dropped him with his H-bomb, he followed up with even more vicious punch, where he put all his body into his face. So that was the most disturbing ever. But, we've seen a few ones like that before. Alistair Overeem, Francis Ngannou comes to mind, and stuff like that. So, you're already knocked out. Those punches, like straight to your jaw, they don't do anything good to you. That's for sure. Sometimes people say like, oh, one punch can knock you out, but the other one can knock you on. So, I guess that's a possibility. But yeah, I don't believe so. I mean, to me, it's brain damage all over the place. And I gotta agree with Jorge. How Jorge made fun of Askren's, the way he speaks, kind of slurs his words. I gotta say, it seems like Askren is already kind of, for some fighters, even though he hasn't taken a lot of damage, for some fighters, it doesn't take much, to start talking about CTE and stuff. And it seems like Askren is, he's maybe in sparring sessions, he's been hurt bad. And he does seem to me like sometimes he stumbles and slurs his words. So this definitely doesn't help. And yeah, I don't know where Askren goes from here. It's so far, it's very controversial. Those two performances that he had, one win, one loss, but that win was also kind of funny. And the way he entered and the way he wanted to move on from the first fight is also kind of funny. So I guess you give him a tune-up if he takes it, and see what else can be done from there. I wonder. Ben Askren is still a great fighter, but his problem is that he's very predictable because he goes for that. Like Masvidal says, he just wants to put that face into your crotch. And Masvidal's crotch is not for dudes. That's what he said in the post conference. I mean, man, that was so funny. Masvidal is just a star right now, I gotta say. Cannot stop raving about this guy. I didn't see this coming. With every performance, he's just looking better and better. And yeah, for Askren, well, there are fights. I just wonder, he should take some time. He should take some time. This guy is, well, he's not that young. What is he, like 36 or something? It's hard. Maybe he just retires after this. He tried. 34 he is. He can take a year off then. He can take a year off. And then take a tune-up and then maybe, run it back against Robbie Lawler, for example, or somebody else. But he needs to recoup just a little bit because this was vicious. And, his entrance into the UFC isn't exactly, sparkling. And, well, speaking of CTE, let us jump into the first fight of the main card. Not the most boring fight, but yeah. Tough one. I mean, Diego Sanchez fighting Michael Chiesa. We all love Sanchez. He's very, very loved by everyone in MMA community, and obviously everybody in Las Vegas just cheered on this guy like he's a savior. Action-packed fighter, and he finally had some success back in the UFC. When you look at his record, man, up until he's 17-0, it looks obviously perfect. And then he loses some, he wins some, and then loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, loss, win, win, loss. I mean, that's how his career has been right now. And taking so much damage. I don't know if he has taken most damage to the face in the UFC history, but I think he's second to most, at least. And he talked about it, before the fight, during the fight week with Ariel Helwani. He was going on these rants, talking about CTE, really going on the rants and tangents where I don't think he was asked about that at all. At first, I was like, oh my God, he's going on a tangent. I wonder if he comes back to the question. And he did. He came back to the original Ariel's question. So I thought, okay, maybe he's not completely clueless. This guy knows what he's talking about. But then Ariel asks him another question, and then he goes on another tangent. And 10 minutes into the interview that was like 17 minutes long, he goes off the rails. He goes off the rails, and he talks about a lot of stuff and emotional and spiritual shit and all the other things about the camp and Chiesa and respect and, what it means to be a team, what it means to be I and team and shit like that. I don't know, man. I don't think he's in a good place. Chiesa, for that matter, he's in a fucking awesome place. I mean, this guy is looking like a berserker now that he's back in welterweight division. Actually, now that he's in welterweight division, I don't think he's ever been in the welterweight division before. He's always been a lightweight, but very big one, sucked out type of a lightweight, and you can definitely see that he's depleted from that. Even now, man, he looks kind of sucked. I mean, sucked in, sucked out, whatever the proper wording is. Even now, he doesn't look like full-bodied, It seems like he can be a middleweight, no problem. I think he would be bigger than, for sure he would be bigger than, Robert Whittaker or Kelvin Gastelum as a middleweight. For sure he would be. He's a huge, gigantic welterweight. And, the way he handled Carlos Condit in that first bout, and now the way he just absolutely dominated Diego Sanchez, Michael Chiesa is making some nice statements, and he's ready to fight somebody, at the upper tier of the welterweight division. And there's going to be a lot of fights for this guy. Like him and Askren, let's do that, right? That would be nice. That would be interesting, actually, because Chiesa is so good in sweeping you and getting into submissions. And he's powerful. This dude is fucking strong. And, to be fair, Sanchez was never he was one of those cold tweeners. Never part of 170, never part of 155. 165 probably would have been the perfect weight class for him. And, he was always back and forth. I mean, at one point, he fought at fucking featherweight, man. Jesus Christ. He fought everywhere. Hasn't he fought in middleweight division? Yeah. So he's like Kenny Florian, because that's exactly where the Ultimate Fighter took place, at the middleweight division, the first Ultimate Fighter. And he beat Kenny Florian at middleweight. Then tested positive for marijuana. Goes to the welterweight, then goes to the lightweight, then to featherweight, and goes back to lightweight, and now back to welterweight. So, yeah, now he cannot cut weight anymore, and he's hurt from that. The problem is he's not a welterweight. He doesn't look like that. He kind of looks like a chubby welterweight, and he's short. He's short compared to these welterweights right now. I mean, if you talk about the elites, Jesus, all of them are big asses. In his corner, now he's got some issues with the Jackson camp. And his corner, man, nothing technical. First of all, one cornerman, which is always a no-no. I mean, and that guy, I guess Diego's case is that it's better. He always had to, for quite a while, for quite a few years now, he had to train himself because, at Jackson's, there's always other priorities. There's always other fighters that you have to pay attention to. They're always in a title mix. So, there's only so much that you can do with other fighters when, we have a champion out there or a title contender out there to train with. So attention was never put on Diego as it should have been. Before maybe it was because he was fighting for the titles. He was fighting against BJ Penn, for example. So of course, then Diego Sanchez was out there at the epicenter of things. But now he said, that he's just lacking any attention. He's training himself basically, and all he's doing, training himself and helping others, to be better and to become champions. So he decided to move away, train himself, and just focus on himself with some proper trainers. The problem is, I don't think those trainers are proper, man. In between rounds, no fucking adjustments, nothing technical, nothing specific. It's just all about, crack the coconut shit and go 100%. Now it's time to go 100%. It's Diego fucking Sanchez. When do you ever see him not go 100%? I don't know, man. It's just it's sad. It's sad. And Diego has taken so much damage. I don't want to see this again. I was really excited after that Mickey Gall TKO, but yeah, it's time to face facts. Mickey Gall was still very green in this game, and whenever he's fighting somebody like Chiesa, somebody like Matt Brown. Did you guys remember that vicious knockout? Matt Brown just put him on a spotlight with those fucking elbows. Yeah, it's just Yaquinta knocked him out and Lozon knocked him out. It was bad. It was bad to see for quite a while in what type of a situation Sanchez is. And at the welterweight division especially, who can see him winning anything? Not really. So I guess it's time to hang it up. He's 37 years old. He's been there. He's done that. He fought who's who, and he gave performance of the night all the time because of his character, because of his determination, and because of he's always 100% type of a fighter. So beautiful fighter, awesome career, but didn't materialize in a championship and whatever, dude. There's plenty of awesome fighters that did not get that championship shine, and they are still, Hall of Famers, and he's in the Hall of Fame too right now, apparently. So, yeah, I would like to see Sanchez to hang him up. For Chiesa, I would like to see maybe Ben Askren in front of him, or maybe some other fighter because Askren should take some time off. Maybe Maya. That would be fun. But, yeah, for Chiesa, only but good things ahead of him. Another guy who's only great things ahead of him is Jan Blachowicz. Jesus. Jan Blachowicz, really, man. This guy is always in the mix, just doesn't get... There are these fighters, that they win those fights that you need to win, but then when you really need to win to make a statement and maybe get that title shot, that's when they lose. And it happened for Blachowicz against Santos. He fought Thiago Santos just recently, and yeah, he got knocked out good. That fight was one of which we made predictions, and I thought that Blachowicz is going to win, but Santos at the end in the third round knocked him out, and in a fight where Blachowicz looked very good. And before that, he was on quite a winning streak, 4-fight winning streak against Devin Clark, Jerry Cannonier, Jimmy Manua, baby, and Nikita Krylov. He had some good wins, and this could have taken him to the next level. Yet he's not in that next level, and he fought Luke Rockhold, and the spotlight was on Luke. We finally got to see him at the light heavyweight division, and he looked big, baby. He looked good. Physically, he looked awesome. He looked big. He looked bigger than Blachowicz. That's the thing about Rockhold. That guy, he's practically a heavyweight that used to fight at the middleweight division. That guy is just fucking shredded, muscular, powerful. It's crazy to see him and imagine him fighting, like true middleweights or kind of in between middleweight and light heavyweight division type of fighters. This guy is all day light heavyweight. And, the spotlight was on him because he was a former middleweight champion and, he looked amazing. Then he found himself into some trouble. Some questions about his chin were raised, but then he says he's never been dropped, and then he's never been dropped in the training camp. It's always an issue when the fight's on during the fight, and well, then you think maybe it's the weight cut, because the guy is definitely big. He's super gigantic, so you would think that of course he's depleting himself, and of course, that will be the excuse that he will run with. And then he fights Blachowicz, and I don't know. Rockhold didn't look that good. He looks confident, and his strengths are still looking very strong. That's for sure. But, he didn't look all that intimidating against Blachowicz. It didn't seem like he's going to, in any minute now, he's going to put him into some trouble. With Rockhold, there's always a possibility because, we know what he can do. But it never materialized in that way. We watched him for 2 rounds, and if anything, Blachowicz hurt Rockhold. At the end of that first round, he knocked him down. And you can see, from that, you can see that, yeah, Luke just cannot take a punch, a kick. I mean, who can take a kick, right? But still, when he gets touched out there in the head area, he gets dropped and he is stumbling and struggling to walk and struggling to, find himself, a focus. Doesn't look good. And then finally in the second round, they go through exchange, and, Blachowicz had all the confidence in the world back by then, and he just hooks him right into a face picture perfect left hook, I think. Drops Rockhold's. Blachowicz, backs up with a few more punches, breaks Rockhold's jaw. It's over, baby. It's over for Luke. And again, a lot of animosity between these two. Rockhold was, again, another thing about Luke, he's talking so much shit. He's spewing all this confidence, talking about like we're going to fight John Jones real soon. We couldn't get anything better than Blachowicz, so I'm just going to take quick care of him and then maybe move on to fight John. He's always got that eyes on the prize, but not on the opponent. The same thing that happened against Michael Bisping and put him in trouble. The same thing put him in trouble here. With Yoel just did what Yoel does. He catches people in the third round. That's pretty much his forte by now. And Rockhold does what he's doing, with Bisping and Blachowicz is just overlooking his opponents. And even in that David Branch fight, if David Branch was just a little bit more explosive and just a little bit more lethal, he could have put Rockhold away, I think. he put him in some trouble. That was a tough fight, and only once once Rockhold got Branch on the ground, that's when he just fucked him up, and pieced him. But when they were standing up, Rockhold was just again too confident, getting himself very much exposed, and put himself into some harm's way and some trouble. So I don't know if he can fix this. I don't know if he can fix this. In his mind, he's still this talented super champion, which, goddamn it, man, 5 years ago, he definitely looked like that. He looked like a vicious killer. But it's not 5 years ago anymore, or 4 years ago anymore. Right here, right now, he's not a champion. He's without a place. He's losing by knockouts because his chin is not holding. Something really got exposed with that Michael Bisping fight. Really got exposed. Before it seemed like, yeah, he got knocked out by Vitor, but Vitor wheel kicked him in the fucking face. I mean, if he wheel kicks anybody, that person goes down. So that wasn't so crazy. Then he comes back and looks, the world beater, goes through people like, hot knife through a butter. Beats Weidman that way, and then all hell breaks loose. So for Rockhold, I don't know. Dana White's is, kind of flirting with the retirement talks here. And, I wouldn't say that I disagree because, first of all, he's got a career. He's got a career in modeling. He's making a lot of money. Again, maybe he's just talking because he is just this, damn, he's a cocky prick. But he's talking a lot about that he's making more money than in UFC, and he doesn't see the point, really fight if it's not the right fight. So I don't think he's going to get those right fights anymore. It seems like even the Blachowicz fight wasn't good enough to please him, and, he lost this one. So what else can he do? For Blachowicz, though, wow. Again, looking at who he fought, man, Gustafsson, Corey Anderson, Jimmy Manuwa. He fought everybody. Latifi. He fought everybody. It's time to give him, some solid fights. I don't know, maybe Rakic, maybe Johnny Walker, or maybe John Jones. I mean, who else can he fight? Anthony Smith, maybe? I don't know. Anthony Smith probably would be a good one because Anthony, man, if anything, it seems like Anthony Smith could get that, rematch against John Jones because I guess we're going to talk about this later on, but, about the whole light heavyweight picture. But it is really interesting right now that there's no solid, clear contender to contend for the belt anymore. And, for some reason, I don't want to give it to Jan Blachowicz just right now. I think he still needs to do something extra in order to gain that spot. It just seems too early. I mean, he just lost his recent fight to a guy who's, contending for the belt. So, yeah, maybe not the proper time to give it to him. But rest assured, good things are ahead of Jan Blachowicz. Big fights are ahead of him. Something excited. Something excited. Johnny Walker, Alexander Rakic, or Anthony Smith. I think those are the only options for Jan Blachowicz in his next fight. All right. So, yeah, we saw some awesome shit. The first fight, Diego Sanchez fight, which is always fun. Wasn't that fun. It was just a good dominant performance by Michael Chiesa. In this fight, Blachowicz breaks, he breaks Luke Rockhold's jaw. Then we have Jorge Masvidal and, his fight against, as long as it lasted, against Ben Askren. So, the crowd is riling up. The crowd is going crazy. This is unbelievable event already. And then we get Amanda Nunes fighting Holly Holm. Really the only one who's left in Amanda Nunes' way to stardom and to greatest of all time. I mean, she's hands down the greatest of all time chick ever. You know, the quality of which she fights, her conditioning is now right on par with her skills, and her skills standing up and on the ground are just vicious killing skills. She's very powerful, strong, athletic woman, and very confident right now. Amanda Nunes is just out of this world. She's just absolutely out of this world. And yeah, Holly Holm is the only one really in her way to, I don't know. I mean, she's already greatest of all time, but maybe to the stardom, maybe just to solidify herself as this champion. So she fights her, and well, what can you say? Interesting fight, striking exchanges. Holly Holm looks good. She's still elite fighter. She's fighting only the toughest. Knocked out beautifully. Betch Correa, she did. We all felt like she won against Jermaine Durandamy, way back in 2017, which would have made her as a featherweight champion. She fought Chris Cyborg. That was a good fight. Finally, we saw a decision from Cyborg. And, she definitely didn't win and didn't put Cyborg in any trouble. But, at least she survived. So that was still huge, kind of a win in front of our eyes. And then she wins against Megan Anderson. So now, obviously, she gets this Nunes fight, maybe to run it back one more time as a champion. I don't want to say that she had no business being there with her. Holly Holm is still well coached, well prepared. She executes the game plan. She's very athletic. She's an athlete. She's a professional. And she's very talented. And she's got, a decorated record in stand-up. But, man, the way Nunes fights right now, how confident she is right now, and all the chicks that she faced and beat right now, Holly Holm just doesn't stand a chance. And yeah, she puts her in an uncomfortable position where Holly Holm cannot switch her stance and really defend herself. Just off balance. Just in a split second, Holly Holm is off balance and she cannot really do much. And Nunes just kicks her right into the face. Only with a foot, not with a shin. So doesn't really completely knock her out. Holly Holm still sits on the butt, really, but she's kind of out of it. Nunes, all she has to do is just follow up with a few punches, and it's over, baby. So, yeah. In 4 years, in a span of 4 years, in a span of 5 years, after losing to Francis Ngannou, where it seemed like, man, Nunes really doesn't have the gas tank, she knocks out Shayna Baszler. I'm sorry, TKO due to leg kicks. Yeah, that was vicious. She submits Sarah McMahon. Then a tough decision against Shevchenko, again, bringing up these questions about her cardio. But no problem. Then she beats Miesha Tate good and submits her to finally get that belt. To defend the belt, then she fights Ronda Rousey, knocks her out to the oblivion in the first 40, 50 seconds. Then finally, again, she fights Valentina Shevchenko. Finally, first time we see that Amanda Nunes doesn't have a cardio issue anymore. She was very well conditioned for that fight. Did she win that fight? I don't think she did. I was giving it to Shevchenko, and Shevchenko made some points about that, Amanda just scored on her, but really didn't do anything significant. And Shevchenko's shots were the more significant ones. So, you know how it is. Split decision, again, can go either way. But still, I was super impressed the way Amanda was so confident in her cardio and her ability to keep up the pace. That was very, very impressive. And say what you want, whether Shevchenko won or not, in Amanda's eyes, that's a win because, she kept up the pace. And we all thought that, man, if she fights Shevchenko for 5 rounds, she loses. And when she didn't, that was huge. Then she defends the belt against Raquel Pennington, who, by the way, had no business being there. She got fucked up. And then she fights Cyborg, fucks her up, wins the second belt, and now she defends this belt against Holly Holm. Man, oh man, the names out here, legit names. Shevchenko, McMahon, Rousey, Cyborg and Holm and Tate. Wow. Definitely the greatest of all time. And the way she does it, that's the thing. Just performance of the night, then just solid defense, performance of the night again, performance of the night. A ton of performances of the night. Amanda Nunes is the GOAT between women, and she's right up there with men now as well. I mean, you got to talk about her as a fighter overall and her greatness as a fighter overall, as a champion overall. Because in women's division and in women's history, hands down greatest of all time. Unbelievable. Super proud of Amanda Nunes. I really want to see that Cyborg rematch right now. And she wants it. That's the thing. Amanda Nunes actually wants that Cyborg fight. Because, man, it seemed like, it wasn't exactly fluky, but you would think that Cyborg is going to incorporate a different game plan. So this really has the potential to be a much more interesting fight and even a successful fight for Cyborg. So the fact that Amanda is actually calling for it and not Cyborg. Cyborg is not accepting that fight. Well, she's not accepting because, she doesn't, she wants to get paid more, I guess. There's some disputes out there. But still, Amanda Nunes just beat her, caught that lightning in the bottle, and she's still calling for that rematch. That's what's insane. That's how badass she is right now. And again, that's supreme confidence. That confidence that she has, like Jorge Masvidal, like Conor McGregor type of a confidence, really. Where no matter what happens, I'm a champion. I think Khabib has that confidence too right now. So she's in that territory where everything just slows down, where she's the queen, and she has no chance of losing, really. That's the way it feels to me. So yeah, that fight would be amazing. If she could have that fight and defend her featherweight belt. To defend both belts, to have the ability to do that would be insane. That would put her right up there in the history of all the champions overall. For sure, because what we usually see for a short span of time, these guys, they capture both belts and then they just ditch on one of them because it's that hard to defend it. I think Amanda, she already beat so many tough chicks that she doesn't have a lot of contenders, looming out there. So she can take a proper time off in between title defenses and defend both belts. I really think that's the case. So yeah, couldn't be more proud of the girl and couldn't be more happy for her either. We're witnessing some awesome greatness in front of our eyes. And again, I cannot wait to see her fighting again. Amanda Nunes is just really a specimen fighter. Her power and everything that goes with it, with the technique and, that confidence and the ability to keep up the pace. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I want to see it again and again. But really, let's talk about. So again, after all this stuff happened, broken jaws and quickest knockouts with switch kicks and a shit talker getting a shit sandwich handed to them. We get this title fight where Amanda just knocks out one of the greatest strikers we've seen in the women's division. Man, I gotta say, all us as a fans, we got ourselves a treat. A beautiful, beautiful treat. And on cherry on top is Jon Jones' fight. Oh, yeah, baby. Okay, but that fight wasn't that. Bit of a dud. So, yeah, still, very interesting fight. I was on the edge of my seat because of Thiago Santos, how dangerous he is. And I always wonder what Jon Jones is going to do. Jon Jones is one of those guys that he's just an enigma. He's got his own way of approaching things, of approaching fights. And sometimes he decides, to have a little bit more fun. And I think this was one of those times where he's seen the path to the victory, but that was a boring path in his eyes. That's what I really think went through his mind. That he can take Santos down and he can just like get him into some sort of a crucifix position and just knock him out to the oblivion, like he did against. I think he did that against Matyushenko. I think he did that against Brandon Vera. Against Vera for sure, but against Matyushenko, I think as well. He just completely annihilated him with elbows. He used to do that always to people, always. So I thought, that's a proper game plan. I don't think that Santos can, stay away from John's takedown abilities, especially with that reach and torque. It seemed like it's going to be impossible and it's inevitable. But yet John decides to stand with him. And all throughout the fight week, all the interviews he talks about, I stood with Machida, I stood with Shogun, I stood with, Gustafsson and all these other fighters. So he's not afraid to stand up and just beat you in a stand-up department. Yeah, I don't know. This wasn't exactly those type of performances, because Santos looked good. And okay, maybe let's start there. So John still wins, but he wins a split decision. First ever in his career, split decision victory. And, Dana White said, like, this is ridiculous and it's stupid. I don't understand how stupid this can be. I don't know. I got to say, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I didn't find it stupid. Let me just put it that way. It seems like John won the fight because, again, with the champion, you got to take it. You got to take it away from the champion. It won't be that simple for you to win a decision because champion seems, he's got that aura of invincibility, especially John Jones. So, whenever it's an even round, you'd still see that, John Jones controlled this that way and John Jones did this in that regard. So you always watch John Jones, I guess my point is. You always consider a champion more, how great the champion is. Until the challenger really puts the champion on a queer street, puts the doubt in the champion's mind, we always consider the champion to be a greater fighter because of all the greatness that he has achieved already. And I try to look at these fights like that very objectively. I really try to not to overestimate what the champion is doing and not to underestimate what the challenger is doing. And if you look at the fight that way, yes, John Jones was kind of controlling the cage. And John Jones was, the one pretty much dictating the pace, but I really even couldn't say that. John was really pushing Santos, circling, making Santos to circle and pushing him against the cage more than Santos was doing that to John. But in terms of pace, John was trying to inflict his pace, but Santos was scoring on him, and he was scoring viciously. The leg kicks, some bombs that he landed on John, some good punching combinations with kicks. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, John controlled the round, but the first criteria of judging the fight is not control. Octagon control is the last one, First is aggression and effective striking and aggression. So I guess John was more aggressive, but Thiago was definitely more effective in his striking. John was picking his spots where to strike with Santos, but Santos was good at initiating his own offense and kind of throwing John of his own pace. John was still out striking Santos, but Santos landed the most effective stuff. So I guess, just because John had more strikes, you would say that maybe he was more aggressive. But what the fuck does that even mean, And then, yes, he controlled the octagon, but again, effective striking is the first criteria, and Santos was more effective in the first two rounds. So I thought that he won the first two rounds. Not that I thought that he won, but I thought that you shouldn't be surprised if Santos has won both of them, And you shouldn't be surprised if you see, some desperation in John Jones, and maybe their coach is saying to him, like, you got to finish this guy right now. But John turns the fight around, in the third round. And man, in the third round, you can finally see, like midway through the round, you can see finally John gets his pace. He gets his flow. He finally starts reading Santos well. And, in the second round, we saw Santos a bit vulnerable because when he went for John's leg, it seemed like John just checked the Santos kick, and that's why Santos, started limping. But no, it was actually his other leg, the one that he's standing on, and turning it into a kick. That leg buckled, and he had a surgery on that left leg, on that left knee. He had a surgery before the fight, and yeah, I guess he wasn't just ready to go back. The only reason he came back, obviously, because this is his chance to a title. The only chance, really, because he's like 35. Santos is. So of course he had to take this fight. He still had to fight, and he did. Yeah, 35. Thiago Santos is. So, we see him kind of limping, so maybe then you would give it to John because, Santos seems vulnerable. But again, once you realize this is not from a checked leg kick, there's no way you can give it to Jones. I don't know, man. Santos was still delivering those kicks, and to me, he won those first two rounds. But then in the third round, once we finally see Santos a bit vulnerable because of his knee, Jones kind of gets into his groove. He picks up the pace. Now he finally finds himself, in an advantageous position, and it seems like, okay, this is over, because we all know that Santos can get tired real fast. But again, Thiago did a great job of keeping himself calm, relaxed, and smart. He picked his battles. He wasn't going all in. He had these spurts of, explosiveness and power. But then he kind of resets, lets John to do his dance. But when all the significant exchanges come to a play, Santos is at the advantageous position out there. Not in the third round, though, because, John finally ramps it up, and it seems like, oh, this is the end for Thiago. But because he kept the fight so smart, he was able to find himself in advantageous position in the fifth round again. Because I definitely think third and fourth, he lost. John had more confidence back then. Thiago's limping, it's more noticeable and more noticeable. But in the fifth round, because he kept himself so well composed and calm out there and not exerting himself too much, he had quite a lot in his gas tank left. Enough to do damage, enough to look significant. And I really felt like, John didn't do anything in the fifth round. I would have to watch that fight again, I got to say. But I didn't feel like John did enough in that fifth round against Santos. To me, it was all Santos, really. John, again, as I told you guys this before, John is really all about those last 10 seconds. In every single round, he likes to close it out with a lot of spinning kicks, a lot of exciting stuff, to make an impression of the judges that he's winning, and he's playing, and now he's just going for kill, and this is what he can do to him at any time. But he only does that for the last 10 seconds. And in those rounds that I thought that he lost, it was all he did. Those last 10 seconds was exactly when he ramps it up and looks like John Jones again, creative and, taking chances. But he did not want to take too many chances against Thiago. And I guess he took already a big chance of just standing with the guy, never attempting a takedown. That was very puzzling. But again, I feel like for John is just a feeling that, yeah, man, I can take him down and beat him up, but how fun that is. How fun is that? Well, to me, I got to say, it's a lot of fun. Those were the days of John Jones. When he takes the guy down, starts, getting those elbows down to his, foreheads and cheeks, starts to bleed those guys to death and just overwhelmed with the power and the submission ability. It almost seems like John Jones wants to get so good at standing up, like you just have absolutely no chance against this guy. It's almost like he wants you to shoot for the takedown so he could fuck you up then his own style. Because really, he's an excellent striker, excellent kicker. Again, has that reach, looks amazing. But he doesn't have that power, so I guess he will never have that ultimate respect by somebody like this guy, who goes out there and he's absolute berserker. He can knock you out with one punch. He can knock you out with he can stop the fight with the leg kicks if he wants to. I mean, Thiago Santos is that powerful. So I guess John just wants to elevate to that level where he's an elite striker. And then, if you don't want to strike with him, what do? Do you try to take him down? I mean, good luck with that. He's going to reverse you and choke you out, or fuck you up with elbows and, stand you up and then fuck you up with knees or something. So I guess that's the only thing that he's still missing, because he's got amazing submission skills. He's got a lot of advantages out there. He's an excellent wrestler. Nobody can out wrestle him, even Daniel Cormier. So John Jones is pretty much a perfect fighter, but all he wants right now is that standing up respect. It's almost like he wants to fuck you up like Nate Diaz fucked up Connor, and Connor had nowhere to go but to shoot for a takedown, which was so stupid and silly. So it's just my thought. Maybe he doesn't feel that way, but that's the only way he finds it interesting right now, I guess, is just, to stand up with a striker, to go grapple with the elite grappler, I guess. So I wonder, but to sum up, Thiago Santos did amazing, and I was really concerned that John Jones was going to lose that fight after the fifth round, which I gave to Santos, and I already gave the first two to him. Again, I didn't think like this is going to happen because it's John Jones, but are we just going to give him, a decision because he's this great champion? Or are we going to give a decision to the guy who deserves it? And I don't know. I don't think that John Jones doesn't deserve to win this fight, but Thiago Santos deserves it to win as well, And that's why, to me, a split decision is a legit decision. I think John just won 2 rounds, really. So you give the benefit of the doubt, unfortunately, to the challenger. So there you go. The 2 judges actually did that. They gave the benefit of the doubt to John Jones, and they still crowned him as a champion. Yeah, so he almost played himself into a tight situation here, man. He could have lost all that legacy and everything. We're talking about scratching the record of Matt Hamill and making him this, with a fighter with a perfect record, and rightfully so, I would say. And all of a sudden, he could lose this thing just like that. A bit crazy. So yeah, now that I think of it, and especially the way Santos fucked John Jones' legs up, I don't know. I think we have to slow down a little bit. And it was always so obvious that whoever fights John, just kick his legs. His shins are not equipped. I mean, I would say his shins are not equipped for anything, but then he knocks people out with them. He knocked out Daniel Cormier with that beautiful head kick. Shit, man, John Jones is just he's so good. He's so talented. You should never rule this guy out from anything. But, if you want to see him at heavyweight division, could you imagine like him against Alistair or him against Ngannou? There's a reason why he doesn't want to fight. Like he said, he doesn't want to fight Fabricio Verdums or Mark Hunts of this world. Those guys are too big. Could you imagine Mark Hunt just cracking one into the John's leg? Jesus, K1 champion with the tree trunks for his legs, cracking a chicken leg of John Jones. He could easily break that leg or tweak a knee or something like that. That would be vicious. That would be vicious, and that would be brutal to watch. So I don't know. I wonder how much bigger and how much, more conditioned John Jones can be in a heavyweight division. But really now, a light heavyweight division doesn't have a clear-cut contender anymore. Johnny Walker came on the scene very convincingly. So I guess he's next in line. But, man, he's so fresh. I don't want to see that. Jan Blachowicz, he just knocked out Luke Rockhold because People thought that, okay, if Rockhold comes here and just annihilates Blachowicz, he's next in line for sure. Because of everything, right? Because of being a former champion, because of being from AKA, training partner for Daniel Cormier, all this and that. And just because he's just so talented and so big, and I guess he was always destined to fight for the light heavyweight title. Well, that doesn't happen now. So, do you give to Blachowicz, who just lost to Santos? Do you give to Anthony Smith, who just lost to Jones? I don't know. You don't give it to anybody, really. The right move for John Jones now would be to fight, Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic winner. And that would be perfect for him to capture those two belts. And then, he should come back. Maybe at that time, there is a light heavyweight contender determined. Maybe Smith fights Blachowicz and they determine who's next in line. Maybe Johnny Walker fights Blachowicz and, maybe then we can actually somehow say that this is a legit contender for John Jones. Something like that. Maybe you run it back with Santos, but that's not going to happen. Dana White doesn't want to give it to Thiago. And I don't know why, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I think it would be righteous, right? I mean, Santos did perform amazing, and, he was injured, so he does have an excuse. Yeah, so I don't know. But this fight was a bit of a dud, and I think it was intentional. I think that John Jones is still one of the most perfect fighters we have ever seen and we will ever see. But the thing is, he likes those chances. He likes to take those chances. He likes to take those risks and put himself in a disadvantageous position. So, yeah, the fights were boring, which I don't get it. Look, I understand it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's still a championship fight with everything on the line, with, so many stakes. And, man, it's still very exciting. You still want to see, what this guy does, what that guy does, and how they adjust to each other. It's still very exciting. If you have to watch it again, I guess it's not that exciting anymore. But when you watch it live, it was fun. It was fun, and I was at the edge of my seat because I couldn't wait, for an adjustment to show up, and somebody, to show something that we have not seen in the first couple of rounds, for example. So yeah, still a good fight, and yeah, John Jones is still amazing. 25-1, pretty much a perfect record, not considering that stupid Matt Hamill stuff, and. Only a heavyweight is next in line for this guy. Only a heavyweight division. I don't see anything else. So there you go, UFC 239. An amazing, amazing night. Some other notable performers. Arnold Allen beating up Gilbert Melendez. I didn't see that whole fight. I just watched the highlights. Seemed like he fucked Melendez up. Outclassed him, which is, god damn it, Gilbert Melendez. It's time to hang it up, Gilbert. Fought who's who, fought for the title quite a few times, had some epic rivalries, but it's over. It's over for Gil, for sure. Marlon Chito Vera fighting Nohelin Hernandez, submitted him in the second round. Yeah, Marlon Vera, that's what he does. Also a good one. Claudia Gadelha against Honda Marcos. Only a decision, but, Claudia is tough as they come. Another guy to mention, Song Yadong from China, fighting Alejandro Perez. Beat him up, man. Nice and easy in the first round. 2 minutes into the fight. Knocked him out. Yeah. This guy is legit as hell. Let me just look up his record. Everybody's raving about this guy. Again, I did not watch the prelims, but, I did see the hype train and all that shit and the highlights. Yadong Song, I guess that's how his name should be pronounced. So, yeah, he doesn't have a perfect record, but... Yeah, he lost a few fights, a few no contests. So a crazy career, but not in the UFC. It was in some sort of a Chinese organization. In UFC, he started in Shanghai, China, obviously in 2017, finding Barat Kandare. Submitted that guy, then knocks out Felipe Arantes, and got a decision against Vince Morales. And now this beautiful Alejandro Perez. I mean, Perez is no joke. And he knocked him out good. So this is a statement, and now this guy is on the map. This guy is now on a map, and he's ready to fight, who's who at the bantamweight division. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. I want to see this guy. I want to see this guy again and again. So this card had everything. It had some names, it had some upcoming names, it had some performances, and some fucking record breakers. So it's been an amazing card. So we still got a lot of time. I haven't seen you guys in so long. I would like to talk about what's coming up next and really what happened in the past week, with Dos Santos and Ngannou. So let me just grab a sip of water and I'll get back to you. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So we're back, and let me talk about the event that we missed to recap. And but we still made predictions for. I don't remember what those predictions were, though. So apologies there, but who the fuck cares? It's so unpredictable, this sport is, that whatever, man. So Damian Maia, shit, what I'm talking about. I'm looking at Damian Maia here. But yeah, Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos, main event last weekend at Minneapolis Target Center, United States, Minnesota. Oh, man. Francis Ngannou, baby. Jesus, what a killer this guy is. What a killer. Again, he's building up his confidence again. This guy looks to be even more lethal than he was before Stipe fight. Stipe put him back in his place, and then he was a bit confused with Derek Lewis' fight. But then all of a sudden he knocks out Curtis Blaydes, and he's willing to fight Cain Velasquez. And after he knocked him out, he's got all the confidence in the world that he can do the same thing to Dos Santos. And he did. I had both predictions, right? I thought that my heart was going with Dos Santos for some reason, if he can extend this fight. And, make it happen like in the third round because he can still carry that power. But, yeah, my mind said that Ngannou is going to get that finish in the first one. And you can see, man, the same thing happened. I don't remember exactly with Velasquez, but I very clearly remember what happened with Overeem, for example. And both Overeem and Dos Santos, and I think the same thing can be said against Velasquez, is that they are so concerned of this guy's power that they just, it's almost like they try to match it. Like, oh, you think you can throw hard? I'm just going to do everything to throw hard at you. And they just throw themselves off balance. I've seen that with Overeem. Overeem was very concerned. He was ducking his head in a weird way, just trying to punch in the most awkward way so he doesn't get countered, because we all know how concerned Overeem is with his chin. And the same thing with Dos Santos. He was going so crazy. And he always kind of goes, but he's always on balance. He's always popping. With this one, he was just trying to match that power, and he felt like, man, Ngannou can do this shit. Let me just go crazy and, go with one blow for the kill. And he throw himself off balance, ends up giving his back to Ngannou, and Ngannou just cracks him easily. It's out of this league. It's out of this world. What he makes these people do to him, react to him, and what he does to them, it's insane. I mean, Ngannou right now, he knocked out Cain Velasquez in the first round, and he knocked out Junior Dos Santos in the first round. The two guys that gave us epic performances, epic 3 fights, especially the last 2 fights. Back and forth they go, and with Velasquez and his pace and Dos Santos and his power, I mean, it was one of the craziest things ever. And we thought that this is creme de la creme of the heavyweight division. And now, with the greatness of these two, everybody else will rise up to that, to that challenge, and everybody else will become better because of it. And we did not see this guy out of nowhere, somewhere out of Africa, who's just taking sandbags and carrying them through the fucking desert in some sort of a mine, where that's his job, that's where he's basically building his strength and power. Out of nowhere, he's going to show up here. By the way, he was homeless in Paris, for quite some time. Finds a boxing gym, falls in love with it, and all of a sudden, out of all the places in France, France just made MMA legal, like this past month. Out of this fucking place, this guy shows up and starts knocking dudes out into oblivion. And now he dethroned one of the biggest, most elite champions that we had in the heavyweight division. Absolutely insane. I mean, Francis Ngannou, what he does to people, it's crazy. It's crazy. Again, he stumbled on Stipe, and as I said, he got kind of like a Luke Rockhold, where he's so confident in what he does, and all he needs to do is touch your chin and you're done. He felt so confident with it that he didn't see, the drawbacks in putting all the power in the world into this. And now he doesn't even look like he does that power. He looks improved. He looks very smooth, everything is just with solid power, but not overexerting himself, and just trying to find your chin. Because he doesn't need to put all that fucking heavy power. He just needs to touch your chin, essentially, to put you on a clear street, and then he can put a power punch. But I think he finally realizes that he has so much power that he doesn't need to exert himself. He just needs to find you. And finding, that's what he used to be doing in these past 3 fights. Man, he's so good. He's so accurate. And very fluid right now. He's got to go out there to fight for the title. Especially if DC wins against Stipe, which is a huge if. He's got to go out there and fight for the title. And, again, we're talking about John Jones. So maybe John Jones is going to get that fight. We'll see, man. We'll see. Maybe him and John Jones, that would be a nice one. Oh, my God. I don't even want to see that. Although I wonder what John would do. Of course he should try to take Ngannou down. But, yeah, let's not even talk about that. All I can say is I cannot wait to see this guy again. The way he's knocking dudes out in these lethal exchange wars, I can watch this all day, every year. This is the guy. This is the guy. And God damn it, give him a title shot. I want to see him finally becoming a champion. Stipe did an amazing job, and all props to Stipe. That's why he's so great. That's why he's probably the greatest heavyweight ever. But man, if we could just get to see this fight one more time, maybe. I think Ngannou approaches it a different way. I think he matured. It took him some time. It took him some soul searching to do. But after he did all that, you can see the success now. Beautiful success. So yeah, I'm hoping for something like that, ladies and gentlemen. Francis Ngannou is no joke, and nothing but title shots and just biggest fights in the world are ahead of him. For Junior Dos Santos, I don't know where he goes. He fought who's who. I mean, he fought Derrick Lewis, he fought Ngannou, he fought Stipe, he fought Alistair, he fought Kane. He could fight DC, but it's not gonna happen. I don't know who he should fight, and I don't know if he needs to. He's not gonna contend for any titles any soon. It's not gonna happen for Dos Santos. He had his chances, plenty of them. fought a lot of people. So, yeah, I don't even know what else to say. I mean, where is he ranked? He's still ranked number 3, so he's ahead of Curtis Blades. I guess he could fight Curtis. Volkov maybe. Yeah, but all these fights, they're not very interesting. I think if you're Junior Dos Santos, former champion who used to fight all these guys, from Cain Velasquez to Francis Ngannou, you're not going to be excited about, Alexander Volkov fight or Alexei Oleinik fight. So maybe he just hang it up. But it's easy for me to say. If the guy doesn't know what else to do, I guess he can just fight all these guys, and climb up the rankings again. Because who knows? At the heavyweight division, all these guys they have different age standards. A guy 37 years old can still be a championship contender. And let me just look real quick. Dos Santos is 35. So in 2 years' time, maybe there's going to be a change of the guard and the change of the guard again, and maybe even again. And maybe that will be the time for Dos Santos to climb back. But he's got to change his game a little bit. He's a very athletic guy. He relies on a lot of that explosiveness that he has and he brings. Athletic movement, wheel kicks, and one punch leaping knockouts. That's what he likes to do. So yeah, at the age of 35, all of a sudden that stuff goes away. And you can see right now, he wanted to do the same thing, but he exerted himself too much, got caught off balance, and, got dropped. So, yeah, for Dos Santos, if he wants to hang it up, I would definitely support it. But if he wants to fight people again, well, he can. I'm not going to say no. All right, let's talk about the guy who deserves a title shot right now. Definitely deserves a title shot. That's Joseph Benavidez. God damn it. He fought Jussier Formiga. An interesting fight. This was actually a rematch. He already beat Formiga, but, for Dos Santos, for Benavidez, it's he fought for the title before and he lost his chances. So he really had to clean up the division before he can fight for the title again. And now, since there's been a change of the guard and the current champion is actually the guy that he has beaten in a controversial split decision, I guess. But still, he beat the current champion, and they have to run it back. I think Cejudo was deducted at one point or some shit. So, it's definitely controversial, and there's definitely some unfinished business. And Benavidez definitely has the case. I mean, he's the number 1 guy. Fought, I think he was number 2 guy maybe, but Formiga was ranked as number 1. Fights Formiga, gives him a rematch, and Formiga looked good. I was actually a bit concerned about Benavidez, that, again, this guy is also he's putting everything behind every single punch or kick, just mean intentions, with everything that Benavidez throws. And I thought, how much can he keep this up? At what point he's going to, gas himself? And at one point, he's not going to be able to sustain this. Probably 3rd round, right? Well, good thing it didn't last 3 rounds. He eventually head kicks Formiga. Beautiful head kick. And then finishes him off with punches. But Formiga looked good. He actually cut him with this. He cut him badly, right at the eyebrow. Oh, no, right at the eye, next to eye socket somewhere. And we all thought that it was with the punch, but apparently, his thumbnail just got stuck out there and just scratched the shit out of Benavidez's eye. And that's why he was bleeding. But still, it was type of a punch, but with a little bit of a fingernail. Yeah, that's gross. But Formiga looked good. He looked like he made adjustments. That's why you want those rematches. Because you know what you're gonna do in the next fight and how you're gonna put yourself in the advantageous position. So it was not looking good for Benavidez. And Benavidez started the fight the same way the way he finished Formiga in the first time was just with body kicks. I'm sorry. And he's got some lethal body kicks, this guy. Just slapping body kicks, the ones that take your soul out. Formiga had kept his poker face nicely. He survived that first Benavidez onslaught, and then, he goes back to him, cuts him. It looks like a more fresher fighter, and, the guy who made the proper adjustments after the first one. But then finally Benavidez catches him with a kick, and it's over. So now that he essentially cleaned out the division without being a champion, without having that belt around his waist, Joseph Benavidez absolutely must be number one in line to fight Henry Cejudo. Nobody else. I don't care what you say. It's got to be Benavidez. Has to be. Give him a title shot. And I know that Dana White said I cannot guarantee it. Fuck that. You got to give it to him. The guy deserves it. He's been around, and he's just waiting for that one last chance. Give it to him, baby. Yeah, I hope he gets it. For Formiga, hang it up, I guess. I don't know what's in there for Formiga. He never looked to me like a title contender, and he got very close. This was as close as he could have gotten, and if he would have won this fight, of course he would have gotten it. But yeah, he doesn't, and now I don't think I think it's gonna take him monstrous effort to get back in line until he gets knocked off again. I just really feel like he's one of those fighters again, who gets close enough but never gets over the hump to fight for the title. So I think that's what's gonna happen to him. So yeah, and Damian Maia fighting Rocco Martin real quick. Yeah, Maia, we always know what he does. Just like with Askren. But the thing is, with Maia still, he fights. He goes with punches. He tries to lure you into, punching and kicking exchanges. And then he tries to take you down. Then he tries to actually lure you into his guard, then sweep you. He's got a very diversified game. So Maia's, he's predictable, but he still has his ways to enter into his world unpredictably. The thing is, he's 41. I don't know how much longer can he do this thing. He had Rocco Martin on the ground, but he couldn't do much with him. Martin was well prepared, and I just think, after a certain amount of fights, and it took a while, for people to understand how to defend against Maia, but you can see now that it's not an automatic submission anymore, because it used to be like, oh shit, Maia is on top of you on the ground, you're done. And now Rocco was defending very well. He was always against the cage, trying to wall walk and stuff like that, cage walk. He was keeping himself into any harm's way, he was just basically sitting out there, and Maia had to work just to control him, just to control his legs. Not even talking about body or, guard or even attempting any submissions. So, he wins it still, but yeah, Rocco Martin had a nice game plan. He survived against a grappler on the ground. So good for him. And Maia, yeah, he's moving on. So that's why I would like to see him against like somebody like Chiesa, or maybe him and Askren. That would be fun. I think that would be awesome. So, yeah, he should fight somebody like that. Okay, guys. So I'm losing my voice almost. So I'm gonna take another break, and real quick, we're gonna preview what's coming up this weekend. Yeah, UFC doesn't stop. UFC every single weekend, just like usually. They're producing event after event, and the next one is not as exciting, but it does have some interesting fights and some fun names fighting. So let me just grab a sip of water one more time and get back to you. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So we're back one more time, and let's just quickly preview what's taking place this weekend on the UFC realm. And yeah, not the most bonkers card. With main event, Jermaine Durandamy fighting Aspen Ladd. Yeah, that's your main event. It's gonna suck, but it's happening in Sacramento, which means that there's gonna be a lot of Team Alpha Male dudes fighting out there, and one of them is Uriah Faber coming back to fight Ricky Simon. Uriah Faber has been retired for quite some time, for a couple years, 3 years maybe. Yeah, he beat Brad Pickett in unanimous decision and then announced his retirement. And now he's back. I always felt like Uriah can come back. He obviously he started losing, but his losses were to Dominic Cruz and Jimmy Rivera. And after that, he decided, okay, since he lost to Jimmy, because the biggest thing was always about Faber that he doesn't lose. The only losses that he has was for titles. Title fights were his only losses. And then he lost to Frankie Edgar, but still comes back, against Frankie Saenz, and then goes to fight for the title against Cruz. And then he really felt like, okay, Cruz is out of his league. You can see that Faber cannot even take the punch anymore, and he's not that fast anymore. So it's kind of over. Let's give him Jimmy Rivera, who's up and comer. Rivera beats him, and then it seems like, okay, it's over for Faber because it's not perfect anymore. But the thing is, man, Faber is he's looking good, very, very in shape. He's not like BJ Penn, where you're just begging for him to retire. Uriah is still very athletic, and if he wants to do it, he can get some nice quality fights and just have fun out there. And Ricky Simon is exactly like that. I think it's a perfect fight for Uriah to come back. A guy who's definitely dangerous, but a guy, who hasn't seen the likes of what Uriah Faber has seen. Ricky Simon's biggest fight, I would say, is Hani Yaya. He beat him in a unanimous decision just this past February. So, he fought Merab. Oh, shit. Merab Dvalishvili, he guillotined him. Okay, this is pretty big. Fight of a night, yeah. Okay. So that's what I meant. Ricky Simon, he's been out there and fought some nice, tough competition, but he hasn't even been in the UFC that long. He started as a Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender against Donovan Frello, and he got a split decision, so he had to go elsewhere, and he fought Chico Camus again, decision out there. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to go too much on a tangent here on these guys' records. You guys know Uriah Faber and Ricky Simon. Maybe you don't know, but Ricky Simon is just a perfect matchup for Uriah at this stage of his career, where the fight can go either way, and it should be fun. I'm interested to see how Uriah shows up. Maybe he shows up better than ever, taking all this time off. That is also possible. So should be a fun fight, but this is a co-main event, so that just shows you that the quality of this fight card is not exactly bonkers. So yeah, and the main event is Germaine de Randamie fighting Aspen Ladd. Yeah, well, Germaine, I don't know. She's got some controversy, She beat Holly Holm in this stupid decision where she punched Holly after the bell, almost knocked her out after the bell twice. Yes, that belt, inaugural, featherweight belt or whatever, has to fight Chris Cyborg for, to defend that belt, and says, well, I'm kind of got this injury and this and that. So eventually she gets stripped. She goes MIA for a year, then comes back to fight against Raquel Pennington, wins a unanimous decision at the bantamweight division now. So she's back to the bantamweight division, and she got a lot of flack, and rightfully so. She's still a very lethal, one of the most decorated strikers. Her, Holly Holm. I guess you got to put Amanda Nunes in that, and Valentina Shevchenko are probably, as far as bantamweights go, those are the elite of the elites, and you can put them right next to the Randamie is actually right there with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Valentina Shevchenko, and Holly Holm in terms of how decorated they are outside of MMA and in striking realm. And the Randamie, I'm not sure, is she? Yeah, Muay Thai. That's what I thought. She's a Muay Thai and kickboxing. Okay, so kickboxing and Muay Thai. I mean, this chick is lethal everywhere. And she's fighting Aspen Ladd, and Aspen is I guess I would say she's an up and comer. How old she is? How old is she? 24. Yeah, she is an up and comer. 8-0 her record. Um, knocked out Lena Landsberg, knocked out Tanya Evinger. Big fights, big statements. Before she was, fighting in Invicta, and now she fought just recently. She fought Sajara Eubanks and got a unanimous decision over her. That was ruled as a fight of the night. So very fun fighter who also has some amateur you know, mixed martial arts record. So she's seen it. I think she is this new generation of fighters. That are good everywhere. Uh, Very technical, great with submissions and with striking techniques. And she's young, she's hungry. She can be a next star. I really feel this way. So watch out for this chick. I don't know how much she can hang with Jermaine Durandamy. This is definitely a big step up in terms of striking. But as I said, Aspen Ladd is good at everything. So I'm interested in this fight, very much so. I really wonder how's it going to go. And if I have to make a prediction, I don't even know why I would bother, but I would say that it's going to go in Aspen Ladd's 48-47 unanimous decision across all 5 rounds. Yeah, that would be my decision. In terms of who wins, whether it's Uriah Faber or Ricky Simon, I'll just for the fuck of it, I'll say Uriah. Fuck it. Uriah Faber, second round guillotine. Signature move by Uriah. Yeah, hopefully. So also Josh Emmett is on this card. As always, fun fighter, lethal fighter. Just knocked out Michael Johnson. We all remember that. And he's fighting no joke. Mirsad Bektic. Yeah, baby. Mirsad Bektic, another guy, came on a scene, was supposed to be a big deal, but got put down by Darren Elkins, and now the hype train slows down, but he's still only 28. I guess not only. For little dudes, that's pretty much as, for a middleweight would be 30 years old, I would say. So it's now or never for him, and Josh Emmett is definitely a tough opponent. But if you beat him, you got yourself a nice career. He's gonna go quite up a rank. Although he beat Ricardo Lamas in a split decision just recently, so you can say that's even a bigger feather in his cap. So if he can stop Emmett, that would be legit. But yeah, I wonder. Although a submission is always a possibility with Mirsad, and he's it's not like he doesn't have a knockout power. So yeah, interesting fight. Again, I'm interested in this fight. So none of them really knock you off your socks, but all of them they have something to offer. They have a lot of chances to give you fight of the night performances or something like that. So it's interesting. And another interesting one is Beneil Dariush against Drakkar Klose. Oh yeah. Drakkar is 31, so not exactly an up-and-comer, but, he beat Lando Venata, he beat Bobby Green, lost to David Timur, but, he beat some respectable names, and Beneil Dariush is as respectable as they go. The problem with Dariush is he's so talented. He can do everything. He can, especially in grappling department, this guy is just so vicious, but he can knock you out, no problem as well. The problem is his chin. His chin is not holding up that well. But if he just goes out there to grapple with Drakkar, which I think he should do, he can easily submit him. Beneil is lethal grappler, lethal. But he's got some nice. Sometimes he gets too much into the striking exchanges, and that's when he puts himself into trouble. So I wonder what he's doing against Drakkar, who's legit. Who's legit and very dangerous, and he can knock you out for sure. So fun fight. Again, not gonna Not gonna knock you into oblivion with the excitement, but still a decent fight. Pretty interesting. I'm interested to see it. You know. Then we got Robert Roberson fighting Wellington Turman. I know Carl Roberson just recently lost to Teixeira. I don't know this Turman guy, so I guess this is where you kind of, if it's exciting, okay, I'll watch it. But if it's not, I'm just gonna skip right through it, and I'm gonna watch it on mute most likely anyway. And the first fight of the night is Marvin Vettori. Good fighter, interesting fighter. I wouldn't necessarily say an up-and-comer because he has some losses, most notably against Israel Adesanya. But, he's fighting Cesar Ferreira, Mutanchi. And, it's always fun to watch Ferreira. Again, for Ferreira, the problem is he doesn't have the best chin in the world. And that gets him in some trouble. But Vettori, we don't even know who he is yet. We don't know if he's this striking machine. He held his own against Adesanya. Survived and got a split decision loss. But again, against Israel Adesanya, current interim middleweight champion. So, Vettori is good in striking, but Ferreira is vicious. Ferreira is vicious and lethal. He's got a perfect game. The problem is he doesn't have the chin. Just like with Dariush's situation, I would recommend him just to strike a little bit, but look for that submission, look for that takedown, and look for that advantageous position to get a submission. So yeah, overall, not a bad card, but nothing too exciting. Oh, sorry, just punched my microphone here. And if you look at this weekend, actually, Bellator has their own card as well, and also led by women. Julia Budd against Olga Rubin. Wow. I know Julia Budd. I don't know Olga Rubin, actually. But, yeah, this is for the featherweight world title, so there you go. Bellator is all about the women as well. And they have Rafael Carvalho fighting Chidi Njukwani, so that's a good one. Bonkers card, bonkers co-main event. Juliana Velasquez fighting Christina Williams. Okay, we're getting crazy here. Ed Ruth fighting Kiichi Kunimoto. So, also, not going to knock you off your socks. Finally, Bellator is not better than UFC. But it's fun, so there is something to watch. Some highlights will come out of this weekend. I'm certain of that. If it doesn't, it's obviously going to be a bummer, but I think it's going to be. With Ed Ruth fighting Kiichi Kunimoto, Rafael Carvalho, Chidi Njukwani, and I think those chicks, Julia Budd is no joke, and she's fighting whoever this Olga chick is. I'm sure she deserves to be here, because they are headlining this fucking event. It's got to be good. It's got to be good. So there you go, guys. A lot we discussed in terms of fighting. I don't know when we're going to see the next time. I'm actually going to take off for a few days again. So if I don't get to see you up until the next week, I'm sorry. What can I say? It's summer. But I promise we will definitely talk about NBA and all the hoopla that took place. Maybe it's even better because, in this way you can listen to all the mainstream media and all the mainstream podcasts about what happened in the NBA world and, how they calculate the salary caps of every team and, future picks, protected, unprotected. I don't even know what half of that shit means. I just want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. I just want to talk about AD and who's better, the Clippers or the Lakers and, things to that nature. So we will definitely going to discuss that at some point. And we will definitely do that with myself and Buddy Al in place. So, yeah, for now, I'm just happy to be back. I'm happy to give one more podcast to you guys. I hope you listen. Please leave the reviews and comments and everything that you can on Instagram or Facebook. Write me an email, as always, at podcast.its for iThinkSports @gmail.com. And, subscribe on YouTube because I'm there too. And rate and review me on iTunes because that matters as well. But for now, just thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the fights, enjoy the sports, enjoy the summer, and until the next time.